Hello, hope everyone is doing all right. As you can see by the title, today I'm going to be talking about yet another group of American stereotypes of Europe. First of all, like I said in the other video, Europe is a big place with a lot of different cultures, a lot of different ways of doing things. We have a lot of things that are in common to us all, and this includes the EU and the UK. Okay, uh, the UK is in Europe. Okay, it's not a separate entity, although sometimes some English seems to think that, but not true. And we also have a lot of things that are completely different from a country to another country. And today we are going to be talking about food, but not. We might address the quality of food thing, but I think that it's more than clear that, for example, in the EU, before you can use any kind of product in the food that you are going to sell to people, you have to prove that it's pardon me, that it's absolutely safe for the person, for the people to consume it. And in the United States, you can use whatever the hell you want to use on the food you're selling to people until someone is able to prove that it's bad for you. Okay, that is the basic logic that is behind it, and that is why food quality is so different in Europe and from the United States. It's basically that, okay? It's basically that. The other things, well, that is something we also will be talking about. But right now we are going to talk about specifically things like, for example, going to a cafe to eat something, or going to a restaurant and ordering things and portion sizes and all of that. So, without further ado, let's start. Now, number one, all over Europe, and I will be talking again, the countries that I know the most are Portugal, Spain, and France. Just for context, these are the countries where I've had a bigger interaction with the restaurants, with the cafes, with all of that. Okay, just for context. So I will be mainly focusing my experience and my opinions on these three countries. And even these three countries are different, but we'll we'll get to it. But this is what I have found. Now, number one, when you go to a cafe here or restaurant or anywhere really, the person that is serving you, meaning the waiter, the person behind the counter, whatever, they are not your slaves. They are not your servants. There are people just like you. And if you, as a customer, have the duty of behaving yourself in a civil manner, it's also their duty to behave in a civil manner towards you. So the lines are very clear and the lines are very specific. Number two, the tipping here, in some places, it's considered disrespectful. Okay, there is nothing wrong, for example, with you having your dinner in a restaurant with someone or with a friend or with a girlfriend, okay, with your family, whatever, with a group of people, having a nice dinner, and then in the end of it, for example, imagine this: the bill is I don't know, 57 euros or some shit like that, and you slip 60 euros to the waiter and says, "Keep the change." Okay, this is an example. But tipping as a culture, even though there are a couple of venues here trying to impose that, but people are not going for it. Okay, people are telling them to sod off. Okay, tipping is not very well seen. It's not very well seen because here, look, when is tipping appropriate? For example, you have someone doing some work in your house, okay, fixing your plumbing or your electric system, or maybe carrying something to moving something inside your house or something, some shit like that. Look, and it's absolutely reasonable to slip a note to the people that were doing that job uh, if they were serious about the job and they help. Slip a note to that people and say, well, thank you very much. Here, go grab a beer or have a coffee on me. Besides paying for the service, okay, that is absolutely tipping here. It's in that sense. It's a courtesy. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It's an act of courtesy, an act of civility. For example, if I'm in the restaurant and the waiter has been very polite to me, I will do that. I will round up the bill and tell him to keep the bill. And usually here in coffee shops and restaurants, those tips will go into a tip jar and they will share it between them. Right now, the coffee shop where I go to right now, they don't have that. But in another one, in another town in which I used to go, uh, during Christmas, they would have a little jar called the tipping jar for people, and they will say for the staff. Okay, and you will eat, and for example, you would grab the your change from paying for your products, and you would grab it and you would put it in the jar for them. A courtesy, a courtesy, and usually for people that you have known for a long time, that see you every day, that deal with you, you talk with them, because that is another thing that we have here. Okay, is sometimes number one, if a person is a civil person that doesn't like to interact very much, I myself then sometimes am a, despite not looking it, I'm a pretty much sometimes I'm an introvert person and I don't like to talk unless I know the person for a long time. It will be usual for you to have a minor civil interaction with the person that is serving you. For example, you go to the same place, the same person makes your coffee, your espresso. Sometimes they already know how you like it. Okay, they already know that you don't like butter in your sandwich or whatever. It's normal. This is the type of interaction that we have, and sometimes it's normal. Then, come Christmas, they have a tip jar, and this person, you like to go to a coffee shop. You feel well there. You are the you are well taken care of. Okay, your food is good. Your drinks are good. They bring you the things that you like it, and you grab a couple of euros or something like that, and you put it in the jar for them. This is normal. But usually here, any place that lives off tips, it means that the employer is a bad employer that doesn't provide uh, his workers with a proper salary. Okay, and we do have a minimum wage, but sometimes it's not justifiable to have, for example, someone working for 2 years in the same place only on minimum wage. Okay, that is completely disrespectful. That is spitting in the workers' face. Okay, it's usually you start with the minimum wage and then it rises. Sometimes it rises little, sometimes it just rises some, but there is always a steady change of salaries until they might reach the platform of that specific function. But unfortunately, yes, we have a lot of people that are living in minimum wages, and it's not easy. Okay, well, continue. So this is the first thing. The waiter is there to perform a function. The waiter is not there to constantly harass you while you are having your meal or pander to each and every necessity you have. Okay, they are not there to refill your drink and run around. They are there to, when they pass, they ask you, do you need anything? Is everything all right? Okay. They are there, for example, to examine the room, and see how things are going. If someone might not be liking the meal, in that case, the waiter might come up to you and say, "Is there something wrong with the meal? Please tell me." This is normal, okay? And this happens here. This is absolutely normal. But they are not there to constantly harass you and make you go away. When you are in a normal restaurant, okay, you're having your Sunday meal or whatever, or you're in a night out and they're not there for that. That is considered extremely rude. If I'm if I'm sitting at a restaurant, if I'm eating my meal, if I'm having my drink, if I'm consuming, like we say here, meaning I'm paying to be there to eat my meal and have my drink, the waiter has no business uh, flying around me like a fly, harassing me to move on, move on. Make it snappy. No, sorry, but no. That is absolutely incorrect. If I'm, for example, at the counter having a quick coffee, okay, I'm having a quick coffee, meaning I am at the counter, I'm having my espresso, I'm eating. This is a sign, for example, to the staff that I'm in a hurry. I want to have my coffee, have my pastry or whatever I'm eating, or if I'm not eating anything, and move on. But if I take my stuff, okay, if I take my espresso and my pastry to a table and I sit down, okay, and I'm eating, I might be reading my newspaper, I might be cycling through my phone, I might even be reading a bloody book, but I'm drinking my coffee, I'm reading whatever, I'm doing whatever I'm doing with my phone, I'm having my pastry, okay? This is normal. And no waiter, no one is going to arrest you constantly unless they want to go out of business. Because if you do that, say that to me once, you only do it once. I will never step into your establishment again. And me, and I think almost all Portuguese citizens, Spanish citizens, French citizens, the ones that I know about, okay? There is nothing more infuriating than to be having a meal, for example, having a meal with a girlfriend, a woman, it not necessarily a girlfriend, okay? A girl that is your friend or a woman that is your friend or whatever, and we are talking, we are interacting, or with your friends, we are talking, we are interacting, and then some suddenly a little head pops up and can I get you something? Oh man, go fuck yourselves. Okay, leave me alone. Okay, if I need your help, I know how to speak, and I will call you. That is another thing that Americans don't understand. They don't understand the concept of having to actively engage with a waiter. I saw this couple that was sitting right here in Portugal, and the waiter was this was in an outside venue, and the waiter was uh, in the near the wall. He was talking with someone, and he was looking to the tables. And this guy apparently he needed something, and he was just doing this with his head, as if the waiter was a mind reader. No, you want to know how you call a waiter here? You raise your little hand and you say, "Hey, sir, can you come here, please? I need you. I need something." You speak with people. Look, it's not something like, ring a bell or some shit like that or be unpolite. No, it's just a simple gesture. I'm sitting at my table and, for example, I don't know, I want another beer. Okay, I want another glass of wine, whatever. I just see where the waiter is. Many times, if you are in a restaurant, they will be near the counters looking at the tables to see if anyone needs something, and they might be doing something else. They might be cleaning a table, they might be taking someone to that table, whatever. And you just raise your little hand and you say, "Excuse me, can you please help me?" Something like that. "Excuse me." It's as simple as that. And in this case, I saw this idiot who was just looking at the waiter as if the waiter was his slave, going, yes, master, can I help you, master? What kind of idea is this? Just because in the United States they are constantly harassing you, and you apparently like that? No, here it is different. Here, here, when you go to out to dine, when I go to a restaurant and I go to eat, number one, no frozen shit. If I want to eat microwave food, I will do it. I will eat it in my house. Okay, I will flash freeze some food, and whenever I'm too lazy to cook or something like that, I will pick up something from the refrigerator. I will put it in the microwave or in the stove or some shit like that, and I will eat it. Okay, but if I go into a restaurant and I'm paying for fresh food, you better give me fresh food. That is another thing that Americans don't understand. I sometimes watch what you call dining out in the United States, and that is not dining out for me. Even the food itself, that is not a dining out for me. Okay, and I watched a couple of cooking shows, and that guy that blonde guy from the UK. I don't like the guy. In my view, he doesn't even know how to cook, but this is my opinion, okay? Gordon something, okay? And when he went into restaurants and whatever to see the quality of food, and he was absolutely right in that aspect, okay? Because there was this guy, this restaurant, this was a great Italian restaurant, and the great Italian restaurant, they made their foods, for example, the ravioli, the pasta, they made it, then they froze it, and whenever the client asked, they would take a take a chunk out of that freezing block, microwave the hell out of it, and stick it in the front of the client. That is not dining. If I'm going to a restaurant to have some ravioli, for example, and I know how to make Italian food. I learned how to make pizzas and pastas and all of that. How does this work? Well, the chef or whoever is responsible for the food arrives in the morning. They make the pasta, okay? They prepare it raw. They leave everything raw, and they put it in a container to be used during the day. And for example, a client arrives and they want ravioli. Then the chef goes, they take out the pasta they made that day. Think, look, you might be dining at 9 o'clock in the evening, and the chef did it at 7 in the morning, for example. But it's still done in that day. And they pick up that pasta, they boil it, they cook it. If you don't know how ravioli are done, I'm not going to teach you how to do it, but okay. They cook the pasta, the ravioli, they prepare the sauce, they put the pasta in the sauce, prepare it, okay, season it if it's needed, and they present it to you. And there, you are eating fresh pasta. This is more or less how things work. For example, during the day they are selling steak with fry. I think you call it fries, French fries, whatever. We don't understand those concepts. Okay, the English I think they call them chips or whatever. They prepare, for example, they will prepare a batch of. Usually here, for example, you ask for something that is called a bitok. What is a bitok? A bitok is a grilled or fried steak or pork or beef, and then it's accompanied by white rice, some salad, uh, uh, chips, pardon me, French fries, okay, white rice, French fries, some salad, and a fried egg, okay, one or two fried eggs. This is the standard one. The chef will already had fried a batch of fries, and he cooked some rice before lunch in order to prepare the plates and the steak. They will do the steak and whatever, and they will warm the fries and the rice. They will put it in your plate, whatever. They would fry the egg in the moment. This is absolutely normal and acceptable. What it is not acceptable is to have the food prepared for days on end and then present it as fresh. That is not fresh food, okay? And for example, if you are having seafood, then it's even more time, it's even more tight in terms of time. Sometimes you will go to a lot of seafood restaurants here that are specialized in it, and you will see fish tanks with the food that you are going to eat inside. Like for example, the lobster, some fish, whatever, they will be in that, and they will buy the fresh seafood every day, or at least every 2 days for you to have. Okay, because if I want to eat frozen shit, I will eat it at home. Okay, I can go to the supermarket, buy a bunch of shrimp, and bring it home, eat whatever I want to eat in that day, and freeze the rest or cleanse or whatever, and then eat it. Okay, that is normal. Everyone does it, but that is completely different. And the price, of course, is completely different. It's completely different to go into a restaurant and have some fresh seafood than buying it frozen in the supermarket and eating it at home. Okay, the price range, the price is completely different. And if you are in a culture like Portugal that has a lot of tradition in terms of eating fresh seafood, in that sense, I would compare us to the Japanese. Okay, the way of seeing things, it's very similar. Okay, if I'm going to have seafood, I want it fresh. I it has to be there. It has to be good. It has to have a pulse. Okay, in order to be good. And I'm willing. Anyone is willing to pay to have that privilege to eat food like that. But again, I am not going to pay the same thing for frozen shit. But continue with the dining experience. But then you have the refills. In America, they have a lot of free refills, free refills, free refills. Here, no. Here, I purchase what I'm going to consume in the restaurant. For example, if you are with someone and you are going to buy, for example, a bottle of wine to share with the other person, or you can buy a smaller bottle of wine, which is 7.5 of a liter. It's a smaller bottle of wine to have with your meal, for example. Or you're going to buy a bottle of beer, or you're going to buy a beer, whatever, a tap beer. You know, it's completely a different policy. And again, like I talked about in the other video when I talked about water in that, if you want to drink bottled water, it's going to be more expensive. But if you are having your meal and you're having your juice or your wine or whatever, and you want a glass of water, just ask the waiter for a glass of tap water. You might even ask him to put a couple of ice cubes on it. But it's not going to be a tall glass of ice with some water in it, or a tall glass of water with some of ice with some drink in it. No. That again, for the reasons that I explained in the other video, not going to get into it again here. That has nothing to do with that, with what us here. And secondly, there are two completely separate ways of having meals in a restaurant here in Europe. You have the experience, which means when you go to the restaurant, you have enough time to sit, to enjoy your meal, to eat, to talk, whatever. And then there is the now normal, average uh, lunch or dinner experience when you are at work. Usually, in almost every European countries, you have at least 1 hour of lunch. In some places, they have 2 hours. In another places, they might have under 1 hour, but usually you have 1 hour of lunch. That is pretty much the standard time for lunch. And for example, I'm working. Okay, I go to have my lunch break, and I have 1 hour to eat. And usually, and I will get into it. Me personally, I bring my food. Okay, I bring kind of a bento box. Okay, and I eat it at the place where I work, where we have a microwave, we have a kind of a cafeteria to eat in, whatever. But I have 1 hour to lunch, so I go into a restaurant, or sometimes I even phone first, so that the food will be prepared when I arrive, so I don't take that long eating. I ask for the restaurant, I go to the restaurant, okay, and I have a meal, a quick meal there, less than an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. Okay, it's not like every European is sitting in the cafe having a smoke and an espresso in one hand and 3 hours of lunch. That is complete bollocks. If you go to any city here, for example, right here in Portugal, go to any city and you will find people sitting at the table eating their lunch, but they are not there to spend hours on end eating. Okay, they are there to have their lunch break. They have their lunch and they go back to work. Okay, so this myth that Europeans always sit down to eat and this and that, that's complete bollocks. Okay, but most Europeans don't have enough time to sit idly eating their lunch while they're at work. Okay, for example, the place there are a lot of restaurants in the town where I went, but you will find everyone. You will find construction workers, workers in manufacturers, public office, public works, people that work in the state, whatever. You will find regular people that work in other jobs. You will find every kind of person that goes into the restaurant, orders a meal, sits down, eats it, and leaves. And this is absolutely normal. And this is, look, uh, if you come into if you want to come and live in Europe, and you're saying everyone is going to be having fine dining every day, you are completely nuts. But you are completely nuts. Sorry. But the issue here is the quality of the food. Okay, when I go to a restaurant, I expect a different kind of quality than I would if I was to do my groceries and then prepare my food at home. Okay, I'm not there to eat frozen lasagna, okay, or some shit like that. No, I'm there to eat a meal. If I ask, for example, for steak with fries, what the talk I was talking about, I expect to have fresh fries. I expect to eat some rice that is cooked in that day. I expect a salad that they do when they are preparing your plate. I expect a steak that is prepared for me to eat in that moment, and I expect my egg to be fried in a moment. Okay, you understand this? Or if I, for example, am having a prepared dish, it might already be prepared, but they prepare it for lunch. Meaning, for example, something that is made in the oven, like for example, we do a lot of dishes with rice. Okay, sometimes you will have a mix which, for example, arroz de pato, duck 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 rice. Okay, it's rice that it's cooked. The water in which the rice is cooked, they cook a duck, okay, and then they cook the rice in that water, and then they put that rice in a platter, in a tray, okay, and then they mix in the shredded duck, boiled duck in that rice. They season it, okay. Sometimes it has it's covered with, sorry, with egg yolk and crumbs, okay. And also sometimes it has a little cream in the mixture, and they cook it in the oven. And when they cook it in the oven, it stays there for the entire lunch period. And whenever someone wants some, they will take the portion of that rice, they will put it in the plate, they will season it if it's needed, and they will take it to your plate. For example, this is an example of a pre-prepared meal, but it's prepared that day. Next day, that rice won't be good, and people will know the difference, okay? And people will call them out for the difference, okay? And they won't like it, okay? And you might lose your business pretty quickly if you work that way. But this is the first thing you have to understand. There are places where you have quick meals. For example, there is a place near my workplace that I go to sometimes, and I can have the soup of the day. Every day they prepare a pot of soup. I will have the soup of the day, and then, for example, as a second dish, I will have, I don't know, a steak with fries and eggs. I like it. Okay, arrest me. I like it. I like. It's some one of those good pleasures. I will have. That's the soup of the day. I will have that prepared dish. I will have a drink, usually a soda drink. As I told you, I only drink a beer at the weekends. During the week, it's zero policy. Okay, I will have my soda drink and then I will have a dessert, which can be anything from a prepared dessert that they might have, like some sweet rice, I don't know, like a custard, like some fruit, like an ice cream, whatever, I will have that and good to go. 40 minutes, more or less, I have had my meal and I'm off I go. This is the example of a quick meal for a European, okay? And the items that you will eat will vary, okay? Sometimes you might have, for example, you might have some a sandwich, or you might have a pre-prepared sandwich, for example, from the supermarket. Around here, for example, you can go to the supermarket and buy absolutely almost everything, okay? You can buy a pre-prepared sandwich, salad, whatever you want to eat. You just go into the supermarket. I have done it a lot of times. Okay, when I don't have enough time, I go to the supermarket. I buy a pre-prepared salad or a sandwich or something like that. I buy a soda, and I'm good. Okay, Europeans don't all have that time to be sitting down and eating in that way. Dinner time, sometimes that is different. Well, when you go to dinner here at night, you have a unless you are working nights also, of course, you will have more time to have your dinner, and that is usually between 6, 7 in the evening up until 9 o'clock or something like that, or 10 o'clock even in some periods. Okay, so when you are when you are dining at a restaurant, yes, that is true. Most of the times people will take their time because they are off the clock, they can eat. But at lunch, you'll find that. And again, for the other myth, Europeans never bring their food to work. Well, absolute bollocks. Me, usually during the week, even for like I told you, for my my diet and whatever, and being careful what I eat, I bring my lunch to work every day. I bring it. I sometimes, if it's something that needs to be heated, I heat it in the microwave and I eat it. Sometimes I eat it at my desk. I take my time. Okay, I respect my lunch break rest because it's very important for your head to have that little break from the workday so that you can think clearer and you rest your mind a bit. But sometimes, look, I will see something, watch something on YouTube or whatever. Sometimes some of the channels that I advertise, so to speak, here in my video. Sometimes I catch them at lunch break just to drop a little line and a little like in their videos, whatever. I do that, okay? At lunch break, when I have enough time, I do that. I watch something, I listen to music, I watch the news, whatever, and I eat. Sometimes sitting at my desk, sometimes at a park. Uh, sometimes I have eaten in my car when I want to, or when circumstances I prefer. When, for example, when I have one of my epic headaches that I suffer from since I was a kid, I sometimes just like to go into the garage. I sit in my car, I put some soft music or something like that in my phone, and I just eat peacefully. I close my eyes for a little bit. You understand? But most Europeans also take their lunches to work. We also do that just like the Americans do. Eating while driving, well, I have said to you, and I told you that sometimes I drink my coffee or eat my sandwich while I'm driving, but it's not common to see someone, okay, driving and having an entire meal. Number one, because that is very dangerous, and if a police officer sees you, they are going to immediately stop you and you are going to be in trouble because you cannot do that, okay? Just like you cannot use your phone to send messages and all of that shit, that is absolutely forbidden. And don't do it here, please. Don't do it. If you by any chance you are lucky enough to get into an accident or something like that, you might be charged for everything because you will be driving dangerously. So be careful with that. But it's not that common to watch this. It's also not common to watch people walking and eating. That is also considered very rude and very stupid. If you are eating and you are outside, stop for a minute, okay? Go into sit in a park or in a park bench or whatever, or remain seated in your cafe, and finish your meal first, and then you walk around because it's not polite, okay? And it's stupid. It's extremely bad for you. It's extremely bad for your gut. It's extremely bad for your mental health. It's horrible, okay? You need to focus when you are eating. You focus on your eating. You might be, I don't know, reading a book. You might, like I said to you, watching the news or something like that. But you are eating, you are relaxing, it's good for you. But that is another myth that Americans need to stop having, okay? Most of Europeans, I will not even say, I will not even say some Europeans. I will say most of Europeans take their food into lunch. Take their food to work. Okay, they package a lunch or something like that, or something to eat, and they take it. Or they go to the supermarket and they buy something to eat, for example. Or they go into the restaurant and they buy something to eat out. Takeout. There's every. You can have any takeout around here. Okay, and it's not that expensive. Okay, you can even have some. For example, I like sushi, and there's a sushi bar in my area. I sometimes don't have enough time to go to the sushi bar, and I order some takeout, and I go there and I take it and I eat it at home or at work. It has happened that I eat it at work. Now, that is another myth that we really have to end. And finally, now I'm going to address the quality of the food. Now, in terms of quality of food, I'm going to talk solely about the EU. I'm not going to talk about the United Kingdom, that also has high standards, I know, but they are different from ours. Are they better? Are they worse? I'm not going to talk about it because I think it would be impolite in my part to be talking about something that I only have indirect knowledge about. But what I do know is that the United Kingdom also has standards in terms of quality of food, and they are certainly better than the United States. No doubt about it. Okay? So, let's start. What is important in this aspect for you to understand is the statement that I did in the other video and also in this one, I think. The way we look at food. In Europe, in the EU, you can only use something on food, a chemical, a component, a process of producing food. You can only do that if that process or component or chemical or whatever is proven to not be harmful to people. Meaning, first you have to prove that it's safe, and then you can use it. This is how it is here. No exceptions. In the United States, you can use whatever chemical, whatever component, whatever process you want on your food, and you will only be stopped of using it if someone is able to prove that that is bad for you. Now, being absolutely pragmatic, what is the conclusion that we can remove from this notion, from this state of affairs? In the United States, the consumer is the guinea pig of the industry, meaning they can poison you, and you have to prove that it was them that poisoned you. This is what happens with sugar and salt. Are there foods in Europe with sugar and salt? Yes, of course there are. But number one, it's always written on the food what it contains. Ingredient list. In the United States, in many cases, ingredients and origin of the products is something that is left to the to the will of the person of the company that is selling you the products. Here, it's mandatory. Here, if I buy something, I will know what that product contains and where it comes from. If you go to any supermarket here in Portugal, you will find that I'm talking about, for example, fresh produce. Depending on the supermarket, you will find around 80 to 90% or even 100% from Portugal, and the remainder will probably come from Spain. This is an example, okay? And sometimes if you go into a Spanish supermarket, you will find Portuguese products also. This is normal. It's a normal effect of being a close-knit economy with Spain, and Spain with France, and France with Germany, and all of us together in this. Okay, you will find Portuguese fresh produce in Scandinavia, for example. You will find Portuguese olive oil all over Europe. This is an example. Okay, you will find a lot of produce from all over Europe in other countries. Okay, for example, I'm a bit of a stickler with this, but I like German beer. Okay, Portuguese beer I find it a bit weak. I like a couple of brands, a couple of type of beers, but I prefer the strong German beer. I love it. It's my favorite type of beer, and it's the beer that I drink on the weekend. Okay, but you will find this. But if I go, for example, into the supermarket and I see oranges, and me personally, I like Portuguese oranges because they are better. And I can pick up the bag of oranges or from the produce section, it will be tagged, and I can see uh, the from origin of product, Spain. And I know those are Spanish oranges. And if I don't like them, I don't buy them. I will look for Portuguese oranges. There, I will buy it. Me, I like it. No, I like Portuguese bananas from the Madeira Island, and I like Portuguese oranges. And also, I love pears and apples because the quality is different. Okay, this does not mean that Spanish products are not good or whatever. No, they're different. It's my personal taste. Okay, I like our products. Continue. I also like to buy sometimes Italian peppers, bell peppers. What? But in the United States, you don't have this. For example, you buy some beef, and sometimes they will tell you that beef comes from Brazil, for example. They will tell you. But many times they won't. And they are not forced to do it. I know some states have different laws, but what I see in practice when I hear American YouTubers talking about it is that they pretty much do whatever they want. And here it's completely different. Number one, there is a close surveillance over the quality of food. And the people themselves, even the foreigners that come to live to our country and that see how we do things, they are the first line of defense against shitty food. Okay, food has to have a degree of quality. I can buy packaged meat in the supermarket, and it's absolutely safe to eat. And me, for example, I buy exclusively Portuguese meat, meaning pork and beef, and sometimes chicken. But the chicken, I prefer to go to a butcher shop and buy it fresh. I don't, I don't like, I don't like the packaged chicken from the supermarket. Okay, sorry, but that's not for me. But you understand what I'm trying to say. But that food will always have absolutely everything. Okay, I buy a pack of cookies, and the list of components of those cookies, they are all there. You also have the calorie contents of that product. You have the contents of salt. You have the contents of sugar. You have the contents of fat. You have the contents of carbohydrates. Okay, you have everything. Why? Because I need to know what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my body. I might be allergic to some things. Okay, it's a security question. Okay, for example, if you are lactose intolerant, an example, look, you need to know if a pastry or something like that has milk or has lactose. You have to know it, okay? Or if you are allergic to almonds, to peanuts, whatever, you have to know. If you are you're buying, for example, a candy bar or something like that, if that might have that product, okay? It's for your own health. This is the first. That is the first reason why things like ingredients always appear in our products, in our manufactured products. And then you have the rules of origin. And this is also important because imagine this. A lot of Europeans are boycotting American products. Sorry, sorry, but it's like this. If I see a product and it says produced in the United States or something like that, I can simply say no and I won't buy it. It's my right as a consumer. It's my right as a citizen to do whatever I want, to buy whatever I want, to not be fooled by someone to buy something that I don't want. Or for example, I don't like produce from a determined country. It's my right to know where that product comes from and not buying it. I know a lot of people here that just buy Portuguese products. Me, for example, I when I'm talking about fresh products, like for example meat, fish, and vegetables, I always buy them from Portuguese products exclusive. Okay, because they are better. But there are some other people that, for example, we have Spanish people working here that like their particular brand of cookies, and they will find a version of it or even the same brand in a Portuguese supermarket. This is an example, okay? It's all about choice. It's all about knowing what you buy and what you want to buy and what you want to eat. Imagine this. Right now, I'm having this diet where I'm banning a certain number of products from my daily food. Okay, I'm banning those products. Imagine, for example, how confused I would be in an American supermarket. It, in my opinion, it would be absolutely atrocious. Add to that the fact that you have to make mental. I know Americans have explained to me how you do it, but having to make to count things in your head because the products you will be taxed. You will have the tax. You will have to pay tax on the products that you buy, that you choose in the supermarket at the cashier. Add to that confusion, and you will see why it's a much better experience to come into a supermarket here. Look, if I go into a supermarket and I see, for example, potatoes, I don't know, 80 cents a kilo. I know, and you even have a scale in most supermarkets, so you can measure how much potatoes you are buying. If you are buying a kilo or 2 kilos or 3 kilos or whatever, okay, I know that. Or for example, it's already packaged and it's already priced. It's €3. Okay, 5 kilos of potato. I already know that when I reach the cashier, I am going to pay €3 for that product. I pick up something from the aisle. It's tagged. The price is tagged. I know how much that butter will cost me. I know how much that the meat, for example. Right now, for example, it comes when it's packaged, it already has the kilo price and then it has the final price. Meaning, when I pick up some meat, I know that's price. That is the price of the meat, okay, or whatever. And this has always been like this. It's in and this gives you in terms of controlling your spending and controlling how much money you spend and comparing prices. This is absolutely you need this, okay? Because this way I can look at the aisle and see this butter is this much, this butter is this much. I'm going to buy this butter, and it will be the price that it is there. And if you are like me, that I sometimes go into the supermarket and I make a mental report of how much money I'm spending. You will be adding up things in your mind. Suppose that you want to spend under 40 euros for a normal grocery run. Okay, I can add up things in my mind and know more or less how much I'm going to pay at the cashier and how much money I have in my pocket or my card or whatever, you understand what I'm trying to say. And even in the United States, I honestly cannot understand how you can live like that. Honestly. And look, I will tell you this again. I had an American friend that explained to me how you do it. And I understand it completely. So please don't try to explain it to me in the comment section. Explain it to someone that might ask that question in the comment section. You can explain it to them. But again, that is not something I consider logic. It is not logic to live that way. What is logic is for me to arrive at the supermarket aisle and I see the products, I pick them up, and I know how much I'm going to spend to pay at the cashier. And that is the simplest thing that can be. Okay, or you stop in the gas station and you buy some candy or some juice or whatever, and you don't know how much it is anywhere. But okay. Then the sugar and salt taxes in Europe, we have a maximum limit of sugar and salt in food. Okay, and the more you approach the maximum level, which is the medical considered safe level of sugar and salt, the more you pay in terms of final price of the product. And that is and in Portugal, for example, the sugar for health reasons in Portugal, the sugar and salt tax is very strict, meaning if you put more sugar or more salt in your products, unless we are talking about traditional products that have always been made in a certain way, those prices will be higher. This is why, for example, soda drinks will be more expensive here because they have more sugar. This is why, for example, things that are produced in Portugal, like or in Spain, they usually work in conjunction. Like, for example, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, Fanta, the the PepsiCo brand chips and all of that, the Matutano and all, and no, those types of products, okay, and snacks and whatever. Those products here, they are going to be more expensive. Uh, it doesn't matter if Mr. Trump tries to talk about tariffs and that we have to buy American products or whatever. Most of the American products that we buy, they're already being produced here. Okay? We're not buying Coca-Cola from the United States. Coca-Cola is bottled here. It's produced here, in factories here, bottled and distributed here. And it's under our rules. This is why our Fanta is different, for example. People have talked about it. I tasted American Fanta, and it does not taste anything like ours. And if you don't know this, Fanta was made by the Germans. And I think it was Pepsi or Coca-Cola, something like that, that bought the brand and that is now producing it. But here we are still drinking the original version. And to be honest, before all of this entire confusion with the United States, when I consciously decided to boycott all the American products, especially after what I heard Mr. Vance say about us Europeans, and especially after I saw what they were doing to Canada, which I think it's absolutely disgusting. They disgust me. It's like spitting in the face of your best friend, but that is a subject for another video. I decided to not consume American products, but until then, I liked the Fanta. Right now, I just use an alternative, a Portuguese brand, which is also very good, and that I also used to drink. But on occasion, I used to like to drink Fanta, or even a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi. I used to drink it sometimes. I liked it. It was nice and fresh in the summertime. Okay, I would love to sip on some cold Fanta. But now I'm not drinking it for the reasons that I expect. But those products, they are more expensive average than in the other places of Europe, precisely because of the level of sugar. The more sugar you put in a product, the more expensive it will be. And why is this? To discourage people from consuming it and to discourage companies from flooding the food with sugar and salt. Look, I used to be a baker. Okay, I was born a baker. Okay, my father was a baker. My great grandparents in both sides were bakers. Okay, it goes back countless generations behind us, and one of my brothers is still in the business. Okay, so up until my late 20s, almost 30 years old, I was still a baker and a patisserie maker and a pizzaiolo. And what you eat in the United States, that is not bread. That is shit. And when you see videos of people picking up a loaf or a slice of white bread and doing this and then putting in the table and it regains its form, and they say they are selling us plastic bread, they are selling us plastic bread. No, they are not selling you plastic bread. They are selling you something that is a little better than raw dough. And this is why then you have problems with intolerance to gluten and all of that because you are eating raw bread. Okay, and here where a lot of people eat that type of bread, they are also having problems, and the doctors already talked about it. And I see a day in which that type of bread will be banned. That type of processed bread, it will be banned. But even the processed bread that we have here, it's minimally safe to consume. Okay, it's not raw dough, but even that is safe here. And the things you call bread, even the so-called artisanal bread, is shit because you are using bleach flours. You are using a lot of things in your bread that turns it into shit. Okay, that is not natural bread. Okay, around here, for example, many times I make my own bread. Okay, I buy the flour, I buy the yeast, I buy the salt. I bake myself a nice big loaf of bread. After that loaf of bread is cooked, I pop it into a cloth sack, I hang it up, and that bread, if it survives, it's good enough for to eat during a week because it's properly done. And you Americans, you complain a lot about the price of things and something like that, but you can bake your own bread. In fact, I think I'm going to make a video just like that, this talking, and I will explain to you how to make a good loaf of bread at an easy price. Something that you can afford and that you can do in your home. Because bread is not that complicated, but even in bread, I saw an ingredient list of American bread and I was scared because I know you are giving that shit to your kids. It's absolutely disgusting. You are using things that have been banned in Portugal before we were even in the EU. You are using chemicals that are clearly bad for you. Yeah, and I don't understand how you can eat that. And it tastes good. Of course, it tastes good. You pump it full of artificial flavoring and sugar and salt, and it will taste good. I'm not saying it doesn't taste good. Okay, don't confuse me. For an European, the taste would be awful because we are used to bread tasting like bread. But I'm not saying it will taste bad. I'm just saying it's extremely bad for you. And it's completely artificial. And it will kill you. It will damage your health. It will damage the health of your children. And in a sense, it will even damage your mental health because you are rotting your brain eating that shit. Okay, even McDonald's and KFC and Pizza Hut and all of that in Europe, they're completely different from what the shit you eat in your countries. And then it's the portion sizes. Look, to be absolutely blunt and to be absolutely correct, I will say this: in Europe, we have portions destined to be consumed by people. In the United States, you eat buckets of food that, uh, in the words of that comedian, to Bill something, I don't recall his name, is really funny. That Scottish comedian. I forgot his name, but in his words, you are eating things that are in farmyard animal portions. And I live in a country where usually the portions are big, at least for our standards, okay? Portions in Portugal usually are large portions. They are more or less the same as in Italy or in Spain, okay? If you go up north, portions will be smaller because it's also cultural, but not everywhere. Not everywhere, okay? It even varies from region to region. For example, if you go to Lisbon around here and whatever, the portions will be smaller. If you come to the south or go to the far north, to city of Porto and the inland and whatever, you will have portions that are larger. So even from region to region, it will depend and the type of food that you are eating. But I saw people consuming portions of food that even I, as you can see, a big eater, the reason why I'm dieting, even I would feel disgust. That's too much food. That's too much. And then I think about the sheer amount of sugar and salt and chemicals. Okay, look, not all chemicals are bad for you. If they are safe to be consumed in minor quantities, they are not unsafe for you. Okay, just like sugar. Just everyone likes a tasty snack. Why not? Or a salty snack. Why not? It's the quantities and the type of sugar and salt and preservatives that you use. You use things in your Fanta that orange that to give it that orange thing that it's like putting gasoline in your drink. You are drinking gasoline. Sorry, but chemically that is what it is. And you are drinking that shit and you are giving it to your kids. And then I see Americans coming here and complaining about the portion sizes. We are preparing food for people, not for animals. Okay, you are not some pig in the slop uh, putting your snot in the food and eating away. You are a person having a meal in a restaurant, and that meal is supposed to be prepared in that moment for you to eat, and for you to enjoy. As I was saying, the restaurant experience. But again, this video has gone way out of hand, but I will keep it. As you know, I don't cut anything, I just keep on talking. And I hope you like it. I hope it has given you some interesting ideas, some interesting questions maybe. And I just want to ask you something in the USA. You need to start asking better, demanding for your supervisors, for the people that are responsible for supervising the quality of your food, to be forced to give you actual food and not chemicals. Because, look, a country of your size, with the capability of producing food like you have, surely you would be able to have proper food in your plates and at an accessible price. Look, I'm not saying to have all bio and whatever, or have everything absolutely pristine and no chemicals and all, but at least have something that is safe for you and your kids to eat, for God's sakes. Start with bread. Stop refusing to eat that shit. Please don't eat it. Please don't eat it. Please don't eat that shit. I'm begging you. And what are you going to eat? I don't know. Make it at home. I will make a bloody video explaining how to make some decent bread. Just by talking with you, and you will understand me. But don't eat that. That is cakes, bread, and pastries. That is one of the things that scare me in the United States because they put things that are bad for you. But I mean physically bad, things that will make you sick. They might not make you sick today, they might not make you sick tomorrow, but it will damage your health over the years, over the weeks. If you eat that bread every day, it will damage your health. Simple as that. Simple as that. I'm sorry. But again, this video has gone really longer than I expected to be. Uh, I hope you like it. This is another video that I'm making about American stereotypes, and maybe I will make a couple of more videos about it, talk about it. I'm also focusing on the effects of Brexit in the British economy and what is happening, and the entire speech that's coming out of the UK. I'm working on it. I'm also working on a couple of videos about Portugal, about drug policies. I'm also working on a video about the BBC and its reliability in Europe. Working on a lot of stuff right now. But I will try to make a couple of more videos about this matter, about these stereotypes that are completely unfounded, that have absolutely no reason to exist. Okay, and more than that, I think you should see things for yourself. Okay, don't trust in people that complain about such silly things as asking for someone to make them a sandwich in the way they like instead of the way that the shop is selling. Like some girl that was insisting that she wanted her croissant with chocolate in France, and they ask her, "Do you want a pain au chocolat?" Okay, because if you go into a shop and you don't know what to ask, how can you expect the person behind the counter to do whatever you want? Ask for what you want. If you want something with chocolate, if even in English, if you want to ask to the bloody employee to say croissant with chocolate, and the person in the counter will say, "Oh, vous voulez un pain au chocolat?" Because if you go to France, and I have gone to France, okay, and you eat a croissant, or even here, for example, you can have a croissant with cheese. They open the croissant, they butter it up, they put some cheese in it, or some ham, or some jam, or even some that have jam or chocolate or egg custard or whatever. But that is a different item. If you ask for croissant, you will receive a croissant. If you want a croissant with other things, you have to ask. You have to say what the hell you want. Because again, the person that is behind the counter, they only have to be civil. They are not your slaves. And if the customer is always right, they are not always right? Sometimes they need to ask whatever they want. And then you don't go on TikTok and make a video about it. You know how infuriating that is? Do you realize that people will see your bloody face, and if they see you anywhere, they are going to call you the American twit to not to be pleasant? Grow up. Grow up and learn how things work in a country, in another country that you might be visiting, and be civil. I want to tell you, lack of politeness, lack of civility, and a lack of common education is what is missing in the United States. You are missing some degree of civility, of civilization, and then you call other people rude. Look at your president. Grow up. Thank you very much for listening to me, my little rant. Little, 1 hour. God. And I hope to catch you all in the next one. Bye. Oops. What is wrong with me? Bye.